Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-host, Michael Reed, for the first time in a while. It feels like forever. But we are joined by very special guests, Pro Football Focus's own Nick Akridge. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Victory Saturday, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Of course.
I'm sorry I can't clap. Usually I would clap for you, but I'm holding a phone in my hand right now, so it would just look shaky like I was Michael J. Fox or something.
Yeah,
I'll allow it this time.
And
okay, all
This
right.
is a very special episode. It's a bonus pod, an immediate recap from the game last night. The Washington football team won 17-13 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, albeit Joe Burrow did not play. But my first question to you, Nick, because you've already been able to watch majority of the game and go back and watch the film on it, the offense was 2 for 9 on third down in that first half from the first and second team. They regressed from last week. They were 6 for 8 in the first half last week. Is this a concern for you?
I wouldn't say so. I look back at it. Fitz was off. He was just missing things. He was, for some reason, accuracy was a little off. A couple of miscommunication plays between him, Humphreys, I believe it was. But no, nothing too concerning, really. Obviously, you want to see them convert on third down. But no, I wouldn't say it's anything too concerning.
Yeah, because that definitely did see that with Adam Humphreys, because the whole reason they brought him in here is because they already had the cohesion. They've worked together before. They looked all right in the first preseason game, but last night, him and Humphreys, to your point, they looked off. That was weird.
Yeah, it was a little strange. Probably just getting used to the system, different system for the both of them. But yeah, not too much to worry about.
Yeah, so last night I noticed they talked about it on the broadcast a little bit, but Antonio Gibson was used on a couple of short yardage situations. Do you think that is so that way they can get an assessment of how he is, so they can see whether or not they need to keep Peyton Barber because Jarret Patterson is playing so well, or why do you think that was?
I think they're just trying to get him as many safe reps, I guess, as possible.
Right.
He's still kind of coming back from that injury and whatnot. And I don't really think you need to see much more from Peyton Barber. You can find a Peyton Barber off the street whenever you want. I don't know if there's really much of a competition anymore. But no, I think it was more so just kind of get Antonio Gibson those sort of reps, just kind of get him warmed up for the season.
Yeah, and that goes to my next question to you, Nick. Jarret Patterson, he locked up the running back 3 spot, right? Last night, 16 carries, 71 yards and a touchdown, 3 receptions for 25 yards. He was the MVP of the first preseason game for me personally, and it seems like he got the number 2 game as well. What do you think about it? Is he has a RB3 locked up? I mean, there is no question now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be shocked if he wasn't making the team. He's fun to watch. He's such a small little guy, but he packs a punch, and it's so much fun to watch him move. And it's just tough to tackle because he's small, and that's his advantage. I mean, it's tough to kind of stay lower than him. He's always going to be the low man, so it's tough to kind of bring him down. He's always just going to be fun to watch. So. Yeah, I think he's got it pretty much locked up.
Yeah, the one thing I like about him is he talked about in his presser last night about how the punt returning was different, and he said it is like running where you can't be patient. You have to just go straight for the hole because if you wait a little bit, you'll get popped. And that's like kind of how he runs the football. When he sees the hole, he's gone. He's not waiting for it. He's not looking to see what happens. He's through it, and he's always falling forward. I was very impressed last night. I think he's going to have a big season.
Yeah, that's what you want to see with any running back. I mean, even if there's not much blocking, just hit whatever you have there. Get those 2-3 yards. It's better than 0. It's always better than 0.
Yeah.
And like you said, fall forward and just run straight. You don't have to run laterally. Just run straight.
Yeah, so as we know, William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller didn't play last night. And a lot of fans were surprised to see Torrey McTyer there getting reps. Yeah. Do you think that there's a legitimate shot that he makes this team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he
seems to be outplaying everybody.
Yeah, he's starting alongside St. Just. I got to lock in more on what he was doing. I paid more attention to St. Just, obviously, but he looked like he held his own. We got him with a 66.6 grade, 66.2 coverage grade. Looks like 6 targets, 2 receptions. I mean, that's a pretty solid stat line. Like I said, I got to dig in more to him, but looks pretty good.
Yeah, and then to flip to the other side, we just talked about Benjamin St. Just. he was locked up on the number 5 overall pick, Jamar Chase, numerous times on third downs, and he locked up Jamar Chase. How surprising is that for you?
Yeah, I liked what I saw. He gave up a couple steps here and there. Chase helped him out with a couple drops.
Yeah.
But the physicality was something that I was really impressed with. Like his length, I'll never stop saying his length is just going to be such a huge key for him because he'll give up that step, and he gave up a step of separation to Chase on that last drop he had. But he can still get his hands in there. He can still make it a tougher catch. Chase will tell you he'll catch that 9 times out of 10, but it's still good to see him, even if he does get beat by just a slight step, that he's still there to kind of, put pressure on the receiver and make it a much tougher catch.
Yeah, I will say Landon Collins probably had a lot to do with that as well. He was flying around the field last night. Jamar Chase looked like he was petrified.
Yeah. I mean, I would be too. When Landon's coming straight downhill, I'd be terrified.
Yeah. Yeah, to ask Alden Tate about it. That dude got popped. So last week, I think a big surprise to a lot of fans was Sam Cosmi. Sam Cosmi was one of the best rookies in the NFL, according to PFF last week. How did he grade out this week, and what did you see from him that you kind of are excited about?
Yeah, it wasn't as dominant, especially it wasn't as dominant in the run game as last week, but he was still pretty solid. I mean, he gave up one hit on a stunt he failed to kind of pick up. But other than that, he was really solid. His anchor is you just can't move him. Once he anchors down, you're not getting by him. Gave up a couple inside rushes, but recovered well. Overall, I'm really impressed with him. In the run game, he's always going to be a mauler. Didn't have those nasty finishes like last game, but he was still doing his job, turning people out of their gaps. I'm really impressed with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And one player, Dyami Brown, consistently from what I saw at Friday Night Football with training camp, they kept Dyami Brown with Taylor Heineke specifically. Last night, we finally got to see Dyami with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and oh my goodness, was that beautiful. Deep ball to Dyami Brown, perfectly timed that ball, jumped it up to the highest point, turning, spinning, catching it, and bringing it down and holding on to it. How impressive was Dyami Brown, and do you expect that he could possibly be the number 2 wide receiver come week 1? Because right now, Nick, dude, I am very impressed with this kid.
Yeah, I loved him coming out of college. He was my favorite draft pick. I don't understand how he lasted as long as he did.
Right.
He was so much fun to watch in college just because he's a burner. He's just going to beat you deep. He knows how, even when he doesn't have that step deep, he knows how to, track the ball. You jump to his highest point to kind of play it better than the corner will. He did have one drop on a little scramble drill, but the deep throw is what you want to see, and he came down with that. So I love him. I've always loved him. He was probably my favorite draft pick. I've said that multiple times. So I'd love to see him starting at number 2.
Yeah, I completely agree. So another rookie, of course, we're just all about the rookies today, but Jamin Davis played until halftime. Mm-hmm. What was your assessment on him? Did he have a better week than last week? I know it's kind of hard to tell with him because you see him around the ball and around the play, but he's not always making the tackle, it seems like.
Right. I'm more looking at how he's sort of IDing run concepts and how he's filling his gap. He was so much better.
Okay.
So much better. Last week he was slow. It was weird. He was kind of slow to react, slow to fill his gap, tried to go underneath blocks at the second level, taking himself out of plays. It was the complete opposite as far as quickly IDing run concepts. Bengals ran a lot of that toss outside zone pin pull sort of run concept, and he was able to get over the top of those linemen pushing to the second level, and sort of either at the very worst he was forcing the run back into the middle, which is what you want to see. So the tackle numbers might not be there, and I kind of just hate tackles in general for a way to kind of measure linebackers, because you can get a tackle 15 yards down the field, doesn't mean you did your job.
Right.
But no, he was good. He was much better. I'd like to see him take on blocks a little bit better, but that's not really a concern. My concern from the first week was just kind of IDing those concepts, and he did much better this week.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to beat up on the Bengals too bad because obviously Burrow wasn't in there. They weren't playing the real number ones or anything. But the defense showed out again on third down. I think they were like 0 for 6 to start this game, picking up where they left off from last week. Do you see this being normal for the defense of these first 2 games? Or is this possibly just something of them not playing their starters, not going against top-tier competition?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, we had most of our ones in, even though we didn't have our starting corners in there. But yeah, we know how good this defense is. We'll see a test with Herbert and the Chargers the first week. But I mean, I think you'll see what you've been seeing from this defense. So I think it was a little bit of both. Obviously, they're not playing their ones out there. They've got Brandon Allen and is 10 times different than Joe Burrow, obviously. So yeah, but no, I love this defense. I don't think you'll see anything different come week 1.
And Montez Sweat showed out, dude. He was a force early on in that game. That was beautiful to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that, on Montez Sweat with his freak of nature, Mr. Incredible arm stretch. That
yeah,
I don't know.
He's another guy that might not like fill his assignment or might not play his assignment perfectly, but when you're chasing down a guy, when you have 4.4 speed at the size he is, it doesn't really matter.
With his length. He pulled Samaje Perine. He tackled him with one arm while being blocked, and he pulled him from behind. Samaje Perine's a pretty powerful runner. I don't know how he doesn't just
tear his pec muscle every single time
he
does that.
I think one of the most difficult things, imagine Samaje Perine having to put his helmet on his head. Did you see him? It looks like his helmet is the same size as his head. It's gigantic.
Probably the safest thing to do, though. So
yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So Landon Collins last night, of course, he was all over the field. He's been all over training camp. What did you see from him, and should Washington fans be excited about what he can bring to the defense this year?
I'm cautiously optimistic about Landon.
Right.
I went all in on him last year, and that didn't turn out so well. And even before the injury, he just wasn't playing very well.
You're just a year early, Nick. That's it.
I know, clearly. But him coming downhill is what we want to see him do, and he did it very, very well. I posted the play where he had the big hit on, future Hall of Famer Thaddeus Moss.
Yeah.
Came down on Jamar Chase, scared him out of that one. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know where they're going to play him. I don't know how they're going to have him and Curl. It looks like they're kind of switching them. One's in the box, one play, one's deep the next play. Right. So I'm not really sure how they're going to play the two. If it were me, I'd have Landon closer to the box, but he looked good coming down from that deep safety role. So I don't know. I want to be all in on Landon Collins, but I was burned once. So
yeah, for me, Nick, I'm right there with you, trying to predict where they're going to be using those two safeties, and I've just resided with the fact that they're most likely just going to be based on formations of what the offense gives out, and that's what they'll be doing. But my next question for you is one wide receiver that I loved that this team drafted last year. He was getting beat up over the offseason, and he has showed out. I needed to see some fight out of him, and he definitely showed that last night. He was Washington's leading receiver, AGG, 3 receptions, 38 yards, on 3 targets, no drops, and a big 2-point conversion to give the Washington football team the lead and the win over the Bengals. How impressed were you with him?
Yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, that's kind of the first we've really ever seen from him. It still looks like he's fighting the ball when he's catching it, which is never a good sign. But Terry McLaurin also had those same kind of problems. It looked like with Terry, he was struggling to catch, but he kept catching it. So that's all that matters. Right. If you're catching the ball, then I don't care how it looks. Obviously, it's a huge step in the right direction for AGG. I got to check to see how he was separating, stuff like that. But no, it was a good step. I want to see more, and yeah, hopefully we get to see that next week.
Right. Yeah. So this is just a quick question. What is the over under for how many times they are going to mention that Logan Thomas is a former quarterback in week 1? You put it at about 4.5.
Well, they hit it within the first 40 seconds last night. So, I mean, if we're talking over under on the season, I think it's going to be well over 50.
What about just week
ridiculous.
1?
I mean, if you get him, if we get Washington in prime time, it's just going to be absurd.
Oh my God.
The times it's mentioned. It's still my favorite thing. I'm going to tweet about it every single time they talk about it. Right. So get ready to keep seeing that.
Dude, I might do that every single episode now. Every time Logan Thomas gets brought
you have to remind people. I mean, it's the same thing with the Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw thing. Every single time one of them's brought up on prime time, it's yep, they were.
They went to high school together. They were best friends.
So it's just one of those nuggets that people are going to constantly bring up, no matter how long he lives.
Right, and I brought up AGG earlier, and 3 guys that I thought did not have good games last night were Steven Sims, Cam Sims, and Adam Humphries. Kind of give an assessment of their games last night. I know we kind of talked about Fitz and Humphries, but do you think that the way that AGG looked last night, that there's a possibility he could be taking one of those jobs?
I think it's a little too early to say that. It was just one game. Steven Sims, not great. They used him mostly as kind of a decoy. A lot of jet motion, pre-snap sort of stuff with him. had the one play that you would have loved to see him come down with that he dropped, kind of alligator armed it. Yep. With Adam Humphries, he only had 8 snaps, according to us. Couple miscommunications, so it's tough to really say
who's
if it was. Yeah, so we just kind of zero that out and we just kind of leave it alone. But with Cam Sims kind of impressed me. I mean, I saw a couple plays where he was getting separation, wasn't targeted. I have to go back and watch more of it, but I think Cam Sims is firmly ahead of AGG unless he does Antonio Gannon Golden does
it's
something
just
better.
The fumble was big for me is the only reason.
Right. Yeah, fumble sucks. I mean, he was fighting for more yards, which you always want to see, but you obviously got to hold on the football.
And ball security is job security, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We already touched on Sam Cosmi, but if you can kind of give people an overview of how the first team offensive line played in general, maybe that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, Scherf was a little rough according to our grades. I have to go back and look at why. Him and Cosmi kind of looked had a couple miscommunications on some stunts. Right. Flowers was really good. Cosmi was good, like we said. Leno was good. Lucas was good. Leno and Lucas, they both are really solid pass blockers, but they struggle a little bit in the run game, which isn't the biggest deal in the world. Chase really kind of struggled a little bit. Again, I'd have to go back and watch that again, but according to our grades, it was a little bit of a struggle. We had him with a 50.7.
Wow.
So, got to go back and look at that before I can start yelling at PFF. But overall,
that's surprising, dude.
Yeah, no, I have to go back and look at it. I don't know what that was from, but grades don't lie, and if they do, I'm coming after you guys.
Right, numbers don't lie, and you know I will too, Nick. Now my next question for you, Troy Apke. He had a good big hit on Auden Tate, I think, at one point. He did have the penalty. He didn't turn his head around for the ball. I thought he played Auden Tate really well, just because, like, having low expectations for Troy, going against a guy like Auden Tate, I thought he actually played him really well. What did you think of his play last night?
Yeah, it was a little surprising. I thought it was a really good play at first on the incredible catch by Tate, but like you said, didn't turn his head around, so they're going to call that 9 times out of 10. But yeah, huge hit on him, which, those were kind of his safety skills kind of coming down and laying the hit on people. Yeah, I was surprised. I hadn't seen much from him. I mean, I heard about in camp that he was working outside as a corner and looks better than where he was at safety, which kind of isn't really saying much, but it's a step in the right direction.
And that's weird. Just a white cornerback to me. Just brings me back to the days of Jason Sehorn, Nobody will ever be that good. But so one big roster spot that everybody's been talking about has been the return man. With Jarret Patterson, I think that this coaching staff definitely feels comfortable with him making the team and him being able to return. Of course, that would definitely help solidify things. But do you see him as a punt returner, or who do you see kind of taking that role?
I think DeAndre Carter. I think I said that right. Yeah, I think he's kind of locked that up. He's because he's kind of quick like Steven Sims is, but Sims dances too much. Carter's just going straight line, and he's getting 7-8 return yards instead of 2, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it's better than what Sims is doing. Haven't seen him muff one yet, so yeah, I don't know if Patterson. I'd have to look back at college to see if he did it as often.
Yeah, I don't think he did. Right.
Yeah, I didn't think he did, but he looked pretty damn good on the one kick return. So
yeah,
I mean, if it works, why the hell not? Get him the ball more.
Yeah. And now our best player on the team is not getting the credit that he deserves, Nick, and that is Tress Way. He absolutely is just consistent as taxes. Last night, I think I counted 3 or 4 different times placing guys inside of the 15-yard line. Just he's in mid-season form. How good was he last night? And it's going to be consistent, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same old Tress Way.
Right.
He is the last person you ever have to worry about on this team. It's always going to land inside the 20. It's always going to land between the numbers and the out-of-bounds line, and that's just who he is.
Why is that so important?
Well, it's because we grade punts, and we're doing it on where it lands, not kind of the result. So a lot of times you'll see punts they'll land in the 20, but if you're kicking it directly in the middle, you're giving yourself a much wider room for error because that ball can bounce anywhere. If you're pinning it in between the numbers and the out of bounds line, it's most likely going to be downed. It's going to be out of bounds around there. So that's just kind of what we're looking for. It's just so much important if you kind of keep them towards the corner because, you have that out of bounds line to work with.
Right. Yeah. And sticking with special teams, Dustin Hopkins redeemed himself. He played a lot better, really just the entire special teams as a whole played better with Cheeseman and then Tressway as the holder. Is this something that fans should kind of be concerned about, this up and down, or do you think, because last season the kicking game was really shaky, do you think that they're going to get this kink figured out like they did this past week?
I don't know. It's tough to say. You have a new long snapper, so everything kind of changes with that. But it doesn't look to be bothering the hold as much. Hopkins is always hit or miss. I know some fans really kind of dislike him a lot. I think it's if you release him and bring in more kickers, you're playing that kicker roulette wheel, and it's just that's not where you want to be. We've seen tons and tons of teams kind of get into that, and they're just bringing in kickers every other week, and it's just not working. I think they'll stick with Hopkins throughout the year, and I think he'll just kind of continue to be where he was. He'll miss some easy ones, make some huge ones, but I'm not too concerned about the kicking game.
And early on in that game, there was a 4th and inches that came up, and the offense could not execute. They could not get it. AG was stonewalled. Were you concerned with that when you watched the replay? Was there anything that jumped off with you? Why wasn't that successful?
Well, they did it from shotgun. I hate in short yard situations when the quarterback's in shotgun. I just always think that you should be sneaking it every single time there. Obviously, you don't really want to do that in the preseason with Ryan Fitzpatrick, so it's not that important. It's going to be tough to move guys those 2-3 yards, especially when you're in shotgun like that. It's just easier if you're under center and you can just kind of quickly give it to the running back. So nothing too concerning there. Those plays are always going to go for 1 or 2 yards. So no, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Now, if it keeps happening, then obviously I'd be concerned. But.
Right. Well, so I'll tell you, my favorite play of the game was by Scott Turner on 3rd and 5. He ran a draw play with Jarret Patterson that picked up the first down. Any play from last night that you watched that you could look back and say, I really liked it they did that?
No, I have to pay more attention to the concepts and what he was running and stuff like that. I was more so looking at
players.
Players and who was playing well and stuff like that. I've always been a Scott Turner fan. So I'm just kind of a fan of his, and I didn't see anything special that kind of stuck out, but yeah.
I thought that was ballsy, albeit it is a preseason game. Regular season, let's see what he does, but I thought that was really cool that he did that. I loved it.
Yeah, I love he's very creative. He loves to get guys in motion and stuff like that, and that's always just going to help you on offense.
Right. Yeah. So did you see anything from Taylor Heineke that will really tell you that this guy could actually start some games this season? I mean, he seemed to definitely struggle during training camp, but he seems to be a gamer.
He is a future Hall of Famer.
That's true. So that's a valid point.
We have to put that out there. No, it was fine. There wasn't anything special. We have him at a 60.8, and that's about as average as you can get.
Right.
Nothing special, nothing terrible. Missed a bad pass on the play that was almost picked off, but no, he was fine.
Right.
Some fans will tell you he was the greatest quarterback ever last night. Some fans will tell you he was the worst quarterback ever, but he was right in the middle.
Average.
Just average. And that's kind of what you want to see from a backup quarterback.
Tell you what, one thing he needs to learn to do is put 2 hands on the ball when he's stepping up in the pocket, because that thing got swiped out.
Yeah, he tries to be Superman a little too often.
Right.
And when it works out, it's awesome. But when it doesn't, then you got some problems.
Yeah, I could definitely see what Ron Rivera means by saying that, Taylor doesn't try to scramble in practice, so in the games he can actually be himself and normal, and you could definitely see what he means by that by adding, because Doc Walker tweeted that number 4 brings another element to this offense, that escapability, and he really does. You see it to his point, but the passing is limited. But to wrap this up, Nick, my last thing for you, we did this with Mitch Tischler, and I actually really liked it, and I want to do it with you if you have the time for us. I want to do positional grades, rapid fire, for each positional breakdown, if that's okay, A through E, whatever you see fit. So let's start.
I'll try my best.
Sweet. Let's start this off with none other than the quarterbacks.
I would say C. Fitz was a little off, but Kyle Allen was decent, and Heineke was decent.
Yeah, I think that's about normal. I really like that one. Running backs.
B+.
B+, that's harsh.
Patterson was fine. I mean, there wasn't anything special, just really solid runs. Wasn't anything huge. So I'd say B+.
All right, that makes a lot more sense. I'm glad that you phrased it that way. Wide receiver.
Wide receiver, probably B- or C. Couple drops. Huge play by Dyami Brown. But yeah, the drops were kind of just what's sticking in my head.
And this one's going to be a big one, is tight end.
Yeah. Did you know that
Tight
our
end.
starting tight end used to play quarterback?
Which one is that?
I think it's Logan Thomas. I got to double check on that, but
Okay, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to do my research
kid.
there. Tight end, I'd go B with tight end. Logan Thomas with a huge play on the first play of the game. That was mostly just a busted coverage.
What did you see from Bates, by the way? We never got to ask you.
I have to get into him more closer, but he looked fine from grades wide. We have a 64.5, so that's fine.
okay.
But yeah, no, I'd say C. Not much there, but nothing really that's kind of scared me.
Okay. O-line.
O-line, I'd go B. Like I said, Scherf and Cosme struggled a little bit with some stunts that they were picking up, but for the most part, it was pretty solid.
I did see fans saying that they were worried about the pressure last night that was brought. Is that what you were thinking of? It's those stunts?
Yeah, stunts a couple times. They did a really good job of picking up one stunt, but there was one where Cosme just kind of picked up the D tackle instead of just leaving it for Scherf and left a wide open rusher off the edge there. Gave up a couple inside lanes, but overall it was pretty solid. I mean, it wasn't. If you get that every single game, then no one's ever complaining.
Okay, that makes That's a great way to put it. Defensive line.
I'd say B for D line. Payne was making some plays.
Yeah,
Sweat was making some plays.
Yeah.
Backups were struggling a little bit, but overall, you don't really care as much as long as those main guys are getting there.
Shout out to Bunmi Routine Me. He had a big play last night. He did well. Linebackers,
I'd probably go B plus. I loved what I saw from Jamin Davis. He was much better in IDing the concepts. Like I said, Cole Holcomb looks really good. I'm going to have to take a much closer look to him, but he looks like he's just shooting through gaps. I've always been a Holcomb fan. He was just solid. John Bostic was good. And then a couple of who was that other guy? The Mayo.
Yeah,
I was just
about to ask you.
Yes, no, he was good. He was really good in the second half. So yeah, I'd say B plus, probably closer to an A there.
Yeah, because in my depth chart breakdown, the 53 for the linebackers, I only kept 4, and I kept thinking, who is that 5th linebacker that could be kept with them? Do you think that's David Mayo?
I mean, based off the last game, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd have to see more again. I got to pay closer attention to the second half, but it looked pretty good from just the broadcast view.
Gotcha. And safeties.
Safeties, I'd put that as a B plus. I'd go A minus. We'll go A minus there. I love what Elena Collins did. Jeremy Reeves looked pretty good. Cameron Curl was fine. So yeah, I'd go A minus there. Mostly just because I'm trying to get more excited about Elena Collins.
There we go. With cornerbacks.
We'll go B. Like I said with St. Juice, he did give up a couple steps of separation on those plays. Got lucky with the drops. I think we'd see it a lot different if those were caught, but I thought he was in tight coverage, and that's just kind of all you want to see. McTire was really good. Apke was surprising. So yeah, that's what I'd give him.
And special teams, A?
Yeah, as long as Tress Way is there, it's always an A.
I love that. I wish you were one of my teachers in high school, Nick. This is awesome. Those were great grades, sir. I can't thank you enough for coming on and joining us for this bonus pod and being able to rehash this game last night on such short notice, Nick. I can't thank you enough. If you want to give out your handle and your handle on social media and where everyone can find your work.
Yeah, Twitter, PFF _ Nick Akridge, AKRIDGE. That's where I'll put out most stuff. If Game Pass would release more All-22, you'd see a lot more content, but they aren't, so we'll be sticking with broadcast view. And I'll try to put up as much stuff as possible, but I was mostly just pissed that I couldn't put up All-22 from last week.
I wish I could have seen that too. Nick, I can't thank you enough for joining us. All right, everybody, we will see you on Tuesday. I'm Kyle.
I'm Reed. That's all I got for you this week.
And we're glad that you're alive, sir. All right, everybody, we'll see you on Tuesday. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!